You deleted the apps, you sat in silence for 24 hours and you expected to come out the other side with monk-like focus. But instead you just felt bored, anxious and eventually went right back to scrolling. Here's the real reason why your dopamine detox failed and what actually creates focus. Everywhere you look, the advice is the same. You are overstimulated, your dopamine is fried, do a dopamine detox. Delete the apps, sit in silence, no music, no pleasure, no fun, and somehow your life is supposed to reboot. But the truth is that for a lot of people, dopamine detox doesn't fix anything. Not because they lack discipline, but because dopamine was never the real problem. How it usually goes: you can't focus, you feel restless, your attention jumps every 30 seconds, you surf the internet for your problem and land on the same diagnosis. It's too much dopamine. And it does feel reassuring. Simple explanation, clean problem, clear solution. Except after the detox you're still tired, still scattered, still unsure what to do with your day. So you conclude, I must be broken. But what if the diagnosis is wrong? I did the same. Thinking that all my issues came from screens, I turned them off completely. And yes, for a few hours I felt calm, almost in control. But then something different happened. I didn't suddenly become focused. I became uncomfortable, restless, slightly anxious, unsure what to do next, and that's when it clicked. The phone wasn't stealing my focus, it was distracting me from the fact that I didn't have clarity. There is a part that gets most misunderstood. Dopamine is not a toxin, it's not something you flush out. There is no such thing as a dopamine-free state. Our brain maintains a baseline level of dopamine at all times, even when you're doing nothing. You need it for movement, motivation, learning, and basic functioning. Low dopamine doesn't create focus. It creates apathy, depression, and inability to initiate action. Most people aren't overstimulated because they have too much dopamine. They're overstimulated because they are overwhelmed. Too many open loops, unclear goals, poor sleep, no structure, unregulated emotions. Dopamine becomes the convenient explanation because it's easier than asking harder questions like, what am I avoiding? What decision am I not making? What discomfort am I escaping? We don't scroll because we love novelty that much. We scroll because silence makes us face things like boredom, loneliness, anxiety, that vague, uncomfortable feeling of, I don't actually know what I should be doing right now. Stimulation isn't the disease, it's a coping mechanism. And if you take away a coping mechanism without fixing the underlying issue, the brain doesn't get disciplined. It just finds another escape or rebounds harder later. That's how brains work. So, what could help? Well, first, stop fighting dopamine and start managing stimulation. The goal is not to eliminate pleasure, it's to shift from fast, passive stimulation to slower, effort-based rewards. Fast stimulation gives a sharp spike and a crush. Endless scrolling, junk food, constant novelty. Slow stimulation gives a steady signal. Movement, reading, learning, cooking, building something. If an activity leaves you depleted and more restless, it's probably too fast. If it leaves you calm and satisfied, it's likely doing its job. Second, don't rely on willpower. Fix the environment. Willpower is fragile. Environment is reliable. Instead of trying to resist the urge, add intentional friction. Have the phone in another room during work. No social apps on the home screen. Notifications off by default. Maybe have grayscale mode to make the phone less rewarding. You're not becoming stricter, you're just making distractions slightly inconvenient, and that's usually enough. Third, use dopamine windows, not bans. Don't say never again, just say not right now. Set specific times for high stimulation activities, 20 minutes once or twice a day. This trains your brain to stop constantly checking, because it knows the reward is coming later. Permission reduces obsession. Number 4. Practice small doses of boredom. Not hours, minutes. Waiting in line without a phone. Walking without a podcast. Sitting quietly before starting work. This lowers your brain's stimulation threshold. When everything isn't constantly exciting, normal tasks stop feeling unbearable. Boredom isn't the enemy, it's how your nervous system recalibrates. 5. Maybe the most important one. Fix the real problem: clarity. Ask this question honestly. If I couldn't distract myself right now, what would I have to face? That's usually where the real work is. A decision you've been postponing, a task you haven't defined clearly, a life direction that's still vague. No detox will ever fix that, only clarity does. A dopamine detox isn't useless, it's just incomplete. You don't need to eliminate pleasure to regain focus. You don't need to punish your brain into obedience. You need clarity, structure, and a system that actually fits how you're wired. Progress doesn't come from shutting everything off. It comes from finally fixing the right problem.